audience, your listen base their judgment of you and your message on when they see as well as up on what they hear. In public speaking, your body can be effective tool for adding emphasis and clarity to your words. It is also your most powerful instrument for convincing an audience of your sincerity, earnest, and enthusiasm. During today's presentation, using body language, we will discuss body language and how to use it to enhance your speech. This presentation is part of Toastmasters International, the Better Speaker Series, a set of programs offering additional information on basic speaking skills. The presentation will be given by Laura Stewart. Something in the way she moves. Something in the way she moves, Laura Stewart.
Greetings, fellow Afterburners and honored guests. It's a privilege to be here tonight. According to the anthropologist Edward Hall, 60% of all communication is nonverbal. That means all of your facial expressions, your gestures, your body movement says more about your presentation than the spoken word. Body language plays other roles, like releasing nervous energy. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people to do public speaking, and they develop all these nervous habits because they don't know what to do. So it's very important to establish good body language, harness that energy, because your visual presentation ends up being as important as your verbal one. There are 3 types of body language: your facial expressions, your gestures, and whole body movement. To begin with the facial expression, your face expresses your feelings about what's going on. It can tell what your attitude would be or your feelings. You could say, "I'm just real happy to be here tonight." That doesn't communicate as well as, "I am so happy to be here tonight." It's important in your messages to keep your facial expression to match your words, like "I'm happy to be here tonight." Your emotions is the most important part of your facial expression. Personally, I consider my facial expression to be probably 85% of my successful speeches. Most of my speeches are humorous because I like to get laughs. And it always reminds me of this story that I'm famous with my family and friends, telling the story when I was in the 2nd grade. And I went to the school office to charge my lunch. Now, I can tell you the story like this. I didn't want to use my name because I'd charged my lunch so many times they were going to call my mother. So I thought, I'll just tell them I'm somebody else. And I told them I was Mary Beth Criswell. Well, nobody laughed at that. But when I tell a story, okay, so I decided I needed to disguise my face so they wouldn't recognize me. So I go into the office. "I need to charge my lunch." "Well, what's your name?" "Mary Beth Criswell." She's not even Chinese. I didn't even know what I was doing. "You're not Mary Beth Criswell. I know her." "Aren't you Laura Billingsley?" So I spent the rest of the lunch hour in the principal's office. But see, I got a laugh. The facial expression was one of the most successful parts of that story that I was telling back then. You could also be a very stiff speaker and not move from the podium and not have an expression and just talk, blah, 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 and become so boring. That speaker wouldn't have the sagacity like Kim does, and would not come back to hear their speeches. One of the other most important parts of body language is good eye contact. Have you ever been talking with somebody that wouldn't look you in the eye? Do you remember how that makes you feel? Like, what's going on with them? Aren't I important enough? Or when they speak and they're looking around here or looking down, it communicates that they're not very sincere. What is it that they're hiding? What's going on with them? So it's important when you're giving your speeches to establish really good eye contact, especially a good steady contact until you complete your thought, and then you can move over and look in the eyes of someone else. It's an effective technique to start on one side of the room, look someone in the eye. When you finish that thought, you move on to someone else, and then you move on to someone else. What that does is engages the audience, and they consider that your presentation is on a more personable manner, and they trust you more, and they're likely to pay a whole lot more attention. Establishing good eye contact in your presentations gives you confidence, or you display a lot of confidence, and they're more likely respect what it is that you have to say. Another category of body language is your gestures. Gestures are specific body movements that just reinforce your verbal message. Most of the inexperienced speakers, when they get out here and they don't really know what to do with their hands, end up picking up habits, like they'll be putting their hands in their pockets or jiggling with their glasses, flipping their hair, things like that. Gestures is, of course, using your head and your shoulders, but typically we like to concentrate more on use of your hands. So establishing purposeful movements with your hands really enhances your presentation. One type of a gesture would be conventional, which means your gesture is a symbol for a word. I told him to just stop it right there. Or, I have 2 objectives to this speech. Those 2 gestures I just displayed said more about what I had to say than what I had to say. Another gesture is descriptive. I caught a fish that was this long. And then emotional gesture. Oh no, I left him at home all alone. Or, I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. Your posture and your stance is very important. So to establish a good speaking, you stand with good posture, your feet about 6 to 12 inches apart, 1 foot forward a little, and lean into it. This makes you feel more at ease, and it does help release some of that nervous energy you may be having. When you want to make a point, it's effective when you move closer to the audience. This is a really great speech, isn't it? And then you go back and resume your other thing. And then the other part is you need to learn how to work the room. So just like I was telling an eye contact, you can come over to this side of the room, establish contact, make your point, and then you move over to another side of the room as you're talking, stop over here, make your eye contact and finish your point, and keep going. What that communicates to your audience is, oh, she's got something else to say. I might pay a little more attention. That's how you work the room. And again, if you want to ask a question, go up into the audience. Is this fun or what? And sometimes the answer is no. It's effective to use your body language. It's a skill that can be learned. And the only way to do that is to practice, 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 which I should have done a little more tonight. It's effective to practice in front of a mirror to watch your own self, or videotape yourself and you can play it back and make some adjustments there. Just remember, your visual presentation is as important in the message as your verbal presentation. It plays a major role in the success or failure of your speeches. It is the use of facial expression, gestures, and whole body movements to help your audience better understand what it is you have to say, and better yet, they'll remember it a lot longer.